Islam family, apologies for the canceled class yesterday, but today we're really gonna get into some good information. Today's Tuesday, July 10th, 1432 Moorish calendar, 2012 AD, and Tesba Sarbe representing Moorish Science Temple, Old Canaanite Temple, Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Organic, all part of the and under the umbrella of the Moorish Holy and Divine National Movement of the world. And we can't forget that because it's global and things are happening globally right now. Today we're going to go into some information on taxes, however, and we'll focus on the Canadian tax system, and we have some interesting things to highlight. So the first thing, since I mentioned that this is a little just tidbit from a timeline, a little piece of timeline information in this magazine called Canadian Immigrant, and beside it says Inform, Educate, Motivate, Ontario edition. Now, if you guys know anything about this magazine, started by an individual who, what was the story? He came over and he couldn't find a job, so he started a magazine, and now he's a millionaire. I don't know the brother's name, but so it's called Canadian Immigrant, and this little article timeline is called A Little History, and it starts 1867. That's when they start the little timeline. On July 1st, Canada is formed. 1867, right? Canada, we all know. 1885, last spike in the Canadian Pacific Railroad is driven in. 1894, first Stanley Cup is awarded. Little pieces of information like that. Milestones, right? So you get down to 1917. So 1917, we know First World War had started. The first point on 1917, right? Not every year has a point, but 1917 has a couple points. The first point, Canadians capture Vimy Ridge after British and French attempts fail. So now I just realized this is a good point. I wasn't going to bring this up. I was just going to mention the next point. But keep that in mind. Canadians capture Vimy Ridge after British and French attempts fail. Okay? The next 1917 point, right? Income tax is introduced by the federal government as a, quote, temporary wartime measure. Islam fam. Now, that's taken from that magazine. To reference that, I went and got the, when it mentions temporary wartime measure, and that's in quotes, the reason is because that is taken from, or the temporary wartime measure was the Income Tax Act of 1917, which originally brought in income tax into Canada. So in other words, before then, you were a Canadian citizen, you weren't paying income tax. Because, just like in the United States Constitution, people shouldn't be taxed for their income. I don't know what, I can't recall the article and section at this moment, but it's there. So the War Measures Act of 1914. This is what the magazine is talking about. The War Measures Act 1914, an act to confer certain powers upon the governor and council in the event of war, invasion, or insurrection. Statutes of Canada 1914, Chapter 2, short title. This act may be cited as the War Measures Act. And then it has evidence of war, that it's either His Majesty the King or the Crown under the authority of the governor and council shall be, or the authority of the governor and council shall be conclusive evidence that war, invasion, or insurrection, real or apprehended, exists, etc., etc. So in other words, it's either the Crown or the governor that can decide that there's, make a proclamation that a war exists or might happen. Powers of the governor and council. The governor and council may do and authorize such acts and things and make from time to time such orders and regulations as he may by reason of the existence of real or apprehended war, invasion, or insurrection deemed necessary or advisable for the security, defense, peace, order, and welfare of Canada, and for greater certainty, but not so as to restrict the generality of the foregoing terms, it is hereby declared that the powers of the Governor General shall extend to all matters coming within the classes of subjects hereinafter enumerated, that is to say, A. Censorship and control and suppression of publications, writings, maps, plans, photographs, communications, and means of communication. B. Arrest, detention, exclusion, and deportation. C. Control of the harbors, ports, and territorial waters of Canada and the movements of vessels. D. Transportation by land, air. E. Trading, exportation, importation, etc. F. Approbation, control for, etc. 4. All orders and regulations made under this section shall have the force of law and shall be enforced in such manner and by such courts, officers, and authorities as the governor and council may prescribe, and may be varied, extended, or revoked by any subsequent order or regulation. But if any order or regulation is varied, extended, or revoked, neither the previous operation thereof nor anything duly done thereunder shall be affected thereby, etc., etc. So, in other words, and then procedure. Whenever any property or the use thereof has been appropriated by His Majesty under the provisions of this Act, or any order in council, order, or regulation made thereunder, and compensation is to be made thereof and has not been agreed upon, the claim shall be referred by the Minister of Justice to the Exchequer Court, or to a superior or county court of the province within which the claim arises, or to a judge of any such court, etc., and etc. It talks about ships and vessels being able to, the Minister of Justice has authority over every court mentioned, etc. Okay, so in other words, there's a little note underneath the article. War Measures Act Statute 1914 conferring emergency powers to the Federal Cabinet, allowing it to govern by decree when it perceives the existence of war, invasion, insurrection, real or apprehended. The Act was proclaimed in force with detailed regulations limiting the freedom of Canadians during both World Wars. Its use to imprison Canadians of German, Ukrainian, and Slavic descent in World War I, and Japanese Canadians during World War II, and to confiscate their property was an issue until the 1980s, when compensation packages and formal apologies were made to those affected. More limited emergency legislation and the offshoot of war measures was applied during mobilization after World War II and during and after the Korean War in the 1950s. So, in other words, out of this War Measures Act, right, 3 years later came the Income Tax Act. So, because of the debts of the war that were piling up to build tanks and actually win battles, right, they said, well, we'll bring in a temporary tax to pay off the debts. Now it's been 100 years, people are still paying income tax, and there are people talking about, well, income tax, people aren't supposed to pay income tax, etc., etc., and then you'll hear people say that those people are conspiracy theorists, and that's of course you have to pay income tax. No. It was used to pay off the debt of the war, one. And two, they probably realized that even after the war had been won, they probably weren't going to get any reparations, right? Reparations was something that people pay after war, even in the 1800s, 1700s, going back. And what happened was Germany ended up paying reparations to the European nations. Canada and the United States didn't get any. So if they need to pay off their debts for the war, then the citizens who think they're citizens of the country should go to their government and say, well, hey, go force Germany or go force the losers of the war to pay the debts like they did to the other countries. How come we're on a second level? What's our status? But then, of course, if you don't know your status, then you can't ask for stuff. So,
and remember too that when we say the wars, and they say World War I, World War II, Civil War, etc. These wars are for a claim of the Moroccan Empire. These aren't just some wars, people just fighting wars for no reason. These are wars because a certain people called Moors, right, got turned into black Negro colored people. So now they're non-entities. So they're not even on the board right now, right? So once they get those people out the way, the ones on the board now become enemies over this prize that they stole from this person that they denationalized, right? And like the thing's saying, everywhere around the world, you hear about other nations getting reparations. Negro, black, colored are still fighting for reparations right now, and they're lying to themselves and saying that slavery was a war between the white people and the black people. So in order to qualify for it, because the only way you're going to get reparations is if you're the loser of a war, period. That's the only way you're getting it, as far as somebody giving you money for some injustice done to you. First of all, you have to be a national, which comes back to status, right?
That goes back to
you can't be a denationalized person saying that you denationalize me. You have to have a status first, and then go ask for whatever it is that you want to claim to ask for. When Moors start calling themselves Moors again, you'll see all this stuff that they're talking about just start turning over in a heartbeat, because there's a frequency in the word Moor. It's nothing personal. If you want to call yourself a black person, cool. To me, you're still a Moor. And when I see you, I'm going to call you Moor, whether you like it or not, whether you don't want to call yourself that, whether you think that the Moors are the Arabs that had you in slavery, you're that. Moors. All of you people who have melanin are Moors. And you're Moors because that's your bloodline. And the only way that they can get a certain people, only people on the planet, to believe that their colors, while everybody else on the world, it belongs to some type of nation. People want to make up nations, claim that they're the whatever it is that they are, and they have the authority to create some party for people to come and join, and like, what are you talking about? It doesn't work like that, really, right? Because we're already united. We don't need unity. Noble Drew Ali brought us unity already. Everybody says that they want unity. What do you mean you want unity? Noble Drew Ali already brought that. The fact that I have a Fez and you have a Fez, that's unity. That's a plebiscite. The fact that there's a red flag with a green star, that's a plebiscite. That's not anything we don't have to discuss that. We already know. You know what I mean? When you go to the Taekwondo dojo, you already know that you're gonna have to go bow, take off your shoes, and like, it's not something that you have to ask questions. What do I do? Or what do you mean I have to take my shoes off? You wouldn't be going there if you didn't know what the protocol was. So only if you know what the protocol is, right, which is understanding the law, which is what all these Negro, black, colored nations of gods and nations of Islam or whatever they call themselves say that they are, but they're not studying the law. And they're studying everything else. And they could break bricks and they could kick trees and whatever, but they don't know what the law is. And the law is not some European thing. The law is principles that are universal. That's why this is a Moorish divine and national movement of the world. That's why Noble Drew Ali said, yeah, I'm a universal prophet and my philosophy is universal. Because there is no we and them. Right? There's no we and them.
That's why Drew Ali was given the mandate in 28, right? And also why there's no need to look for that piece of paper that says mandate.
Right.
What he was given was all the nations outside of the United States of America, but within the Americas, Cuba, Jamaica, Brazil, whatever, saying, yeah, we'll put the interest in the word more as being the ones who are indigenous to the land, the ones who are the nationals of America, i.e. the country that helped win World War I and World War II. So that no matter how long it takes for people to say, hey, maybe they should pay reparations to America for helping win the wars, they're going to have to give it to nationals, because you can't pay reparations to any other class of citizen other than a national. That's law. That's like legit law.
Right. So what certain people did, certain people said, okay, well, this is our nationality and we're sticking to it, and sacrificed a lot of their own during a wartime in order to get reparations, and claim that they got it because of the war, when really they got it because they created a fake nation called ISIS, Amen-Ra, Elohim. They took the Moorish Fez, which is the Star of David, which is 360, and then 360, right? 720, which is the two triangles that make up the Star of David, right? This is how they created the nation. They took the Moors' knowledge, created a fake nation called a religion, and got everything that they wanted in order for that to be something that we're looking at it today, calling it a nation, when it's a religious perspective, right? And then some Negro, black, colored people tried to do that, right? And they get fed by the same colonizer who pulled the create the fake nation trick, right? Because you have to understand, it's the same game. There's these one people that are Negro, black, colored, saying that they're a religious nation. And then there's Europeans saying that they're a religious nation. And both of them are being fed. That's what El Hajj found out, and said that the Nation of Islam and the Ku Klux Klan have the same paymasters, because they were all funded by Jews, the Ashkenazis, who have the Anti-Defamation League and are going to say that people are anti-Semite toward them when they're a fraud, using Moorish sigils and symbolism in order to create their fake nation that the world's buying. Because they told the world that if you don't give us anything and everything that we want, we're going to tell the real Jews who they are and mash up everything.
What's that called? Oh yeah, blackmail.
Right? Blackmailing the whole world.
People think that there's a secret vault where, you know what I mean, they put a blanket over it, then you take it out, and then money appears. And then that's how these people are rich. Or that they just work really hard, harder than everyone else.
Right? And remember, we're talking about, this was during a wartime, that they created this idea of creating this fake nation so they can get reparations, right? And have a claim to something, because as we all know, the so-called Caucasians don't have a home on the earth plane. They were roped in the caves of the Caucasus. And that's not their home. They were put there. So there's not really a place. So they have to make some type of claim. Nothing's wrong with that. They're not wrong. Because who else's information are you going to use to create the fake nation? Not the First Nation, which is the Moorish nation. And the Moorish nation includes the Canaanites, the Phoenicians, the Hamites, the Israelites, the Moabites, the Canaanites. It includes all these dark-skinned people. Because we're all one family. Many different languages, many different customs and creeds, but we all know for a documented fact, right, that we're the indigenous Aboriginal people on the whole planet. So they have to find ways in order to hide the truth. And this is not, they go into in-depth study of us in order to know us, to control us. And everything that they're using is our stuff against us. And we don't want to get back on our stuff. We want to think that our stuff belongs to some Europeans that call themselves Freemasons, when they're really free Moorish Master Masons. But if they told you that they're free Moorish Master Masons, you would have to then question the Moor identity and really how legit it is. If the so-called people who are called Freemasons, George Bush and all these people that people are saying are the Illuminati in control of the world, their real name, documented fact, is Free Moorish Master Mason. That's their real name. They're not Freemasons. As soon as you call them Freemasons, you created an artificial jurisdiction, right, based on your assumption of what a Freemason is. And that's how they always trap us, right? So when they're saying wars, and we think that it's about, you know, guns and going out and, you know what I mean, what we see them present war is, right? We're going to tell you right now what war is. This is what war is. What we're going to be describing right now, right? Whatever you thought war was, get it out of your mind. Because it's 2012 right now. All those things that you see happening with people dying and bombs and tanks and all of that, that's damage control. That's depopulation. That has nothing to do with countries trying to gain possession of something. That's get people off the planet ASAP. Because time's up. It's the Aquarian age right now, and time's up. The pitcher is tipping over, and water is knowledge. So it's done right now. Right? Everything that is expected from an ordinary weapon is expected from a silent weapon by its creators, but only in its own manner of functioning. It shoots situations instead of bullets, propelled by data processing instead of chemical reaction explosion, originating from bits of data instead of grains of gunpowder, from a computer instead of a gun, operated by a computer programmer instead of a marksman, under the orders of a banking magnate instead of a military general. It makes no obvious explosive noises, causes no obvious physical or mental injuries, and does not obviously interfere with anyone's daily social life. Yet, it makes unmistakable noise, causes unmistakable physical and mental damage, and unmistakably interferes with daily social life, i.e., unmistakable to a trained observer, one who knows what to look for. The public cannot comprehend this weapon, and therefore cannot believe that they are being attacked and subdued by a weapon. The public might instinctively feel that something is wrong, But because of the technical nature of the silent weapon, they cannot express their feeling in a rational way or handle the problem with intelligence. Therefore, they do not know how to cry for help and do not know how to associate with others to defend themselves against it. When a silent weapon is applied gradually to the public adjusts, adapts to its presence, and learns to tolerate its encroachment on their lives until the pressure, psychological via economic, becomes too great and they crack up. Therefore, the silent weapon is a type of biological warfare. It attacks the vitality, opinions, and mobility of the individuals of a society by knowing, understanding, manipulating, and attacking their sources of natural and social energy and their physical, mental, and emotional strengths and weaknesses. And that was from King Alfred Plan, Executive Order 11490, October 19th, 1969. This executive order was authorized October of 1969 to counteract the minority, blacks, Indians, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, and poor whites, in their rise from under the depression and the powers that be, the government. And you could get the King Alfred booklet at rvbaypublications.com. Now we started off talking about taxes. There's a lot of taxes in the news going on right now. And it's amazing how people see things going on, right? Remember, the public cannot comprehend this weapon and therefore cannot believe that they are being attacked and subdued by a weapon, right? Remember, we're dealing with taxes. Fugees, a Haitian American hip hop group whose rose to fame in the 1990s. The members of the group, Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, Pras Michael, deriving their name from the term refugee. Jean and Pras are Haitian, while Hill is American. Steve Baltin, 2007. While Fugees fans might be disappointed by Pras Michael's recent comments that the groundbreaking hip-hop group's plan to reunite for an album has fallen through, Michael tells Pop Eater his real concern is former bandmate Lauryn Hill. "I'm praying for Lauryn Hill," he says. "She went AWOL, and to be honest with you, I don't really care much as I do for her mental stability. It's more important for her to be mentally stable. She's like a little sister of mine. I'd much rather her mentally be correct than be thinking about Fuji records." Part of the rapper's empathy comes from his experience living in Los Angeles' Skid Row, which was the subject of a documentary of the same name. "It changed my life," he says, of the experience. "Living down on a sidewalk and panhandling gave me a different perspective on life. That's why I can sit here and tell you the Fugees don't mean much compared to her mental health. Perhaps the experiences Michael, who will release his new single in 2 weeks followed by the album Pop Life in February, has had with Hill, given him insight into reportedly troubled pop stars. Prior to MTV VMAs in Vegas, Michael went a little Nostradamus with his thoughts on Britney Spears. "I know Britney Spears is the big talk," he told Pop Eater at the time. "I hope she do her thing, but I think it's going to be a train wreck. That's my prediction." Former Fugees singer Lauryn Hill says she didn't cheat on her taxes. She went underground, quote unquote. A day after federal prosecutors in New Jersey charged Hill 37 with 3 counts of knowingly and willfully failing to make an income tax return to the IRS, according to court documents, Hill took to Tumblr to share her side of the story. Hill said she withdrew to heal and grow away from the forces that oppressed and manipulated her in the past. She didn't name any names. It was critically important that I find a suitable pathway within which to exist without being distorted or economically strong-armed, she wrote. Failure to create a non-toxic, non-explosive environment was not an option. Hill won 5 Grammys when she launched her solo career with the album The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill in 1998, but she dropped out of sight in early 2000s. The singer pointed out that she paid her taxes before going underground. This only stopped when it was necessary to withdraw from society in order to guarantee the safety and well-being of myself and my family, she wrote. Hill made more than $1.8 million from 2005 through 2007, the year she allegedly failed to pay taxes, according to the federal court documents. Hill said she conveyed the contents of her post when authorities questioned her about her taxes. Obviously, the danger I face was not accepted as reasonable grounds for deferring my tax payments as authorities, who, despite being told all of this, still chose to pursue action against me as opposed to finding an alternative solution, she wrote, adding that she was intended to rectify the situation. She could face up to a year in prison or a $100,000 fine for each of the 3 counts, according to press release from Department of Justice. She is scheduled to appear before a judge on June 29th. Lauryn Hill, the Grammy-winning singer and actress, admitted she failed to file income tax returns for 3 years, U.S. Attorney Paul J. Fisherman announced. Hill 37 of South Orange, who waived her right to a trial, pleaded guilty before U.S. Magistrate Judge Michael Shipp in New York federal court to 3 counts of failing to file tax returns with the IRS. According to documents filed in this case and statements made in court, in addition to being an entertainer, Hill owned and operated 4 subcharter S corporations and had as her primary source of income royalties from the recording and film industries. During calendar years 2005, 2006, and 2007, Hill received more than $1.8 million in income and failed to file tax returns with the IRS for those years. The counts to which Hill pleaded guilty each carry a maximum potential penalty of 1 year in prison plus fines and court costs. Fisherman credited special agents with the IRS criminal investigation under the direction of Special Agent in Charge Victor W. Leshoff, with the investigation leading to today's guilty plea. So, first thing, income is profits made from investments. Like, that's income, right? So that's the first thing. If you don't think that's what it is, go look it up. That's what it's going to say income is. Income is the money that you get from your job.
Black Star Dictionary.
Right? Income is profits made off investments. So if anybody's paying income tax, the first question you should be asking those people, right, is, could you show me the investments that I made that I owe these taxes on?
But of course, asking those questions from the standpoint not of a citizen who is part of a citizenry that doesn't ask the questions, but from the standpoint of a natural person who naturally is going to ask those types of questions.
You have to also remember that we don't really digest how deep things are, right? The Inquisition Revenue Services the private corporation that has nothing to do with government, similar to the Canada, the KKK, LANADA, Canada, hood guys that just right up here in a place called Pickering, they burn crosses up there back in the day, right? Before that was developed, when that was bush and there were no houses up there. That's where the clan of Ontario Territory, Toronto County used to go burn crosses. So the Canada Revenue Agency, private corporation, having nothing to do with government, is dealing with the whole tax thing, right? And those are private corporations that's only purpose, only thing that they're there for is to extort money. That's all, by any means necessary. But why can they do that? Because Hill is a European. And if she's from New York, New Jersey, Republic, South Orange, more than likely she's dark-skinned. And being that she's dark-skinned, she should have been nationalized over at Ashbury Park Temple. She wouldn't have been having this problem, right? If she was in propria persona, right? In propria persona is a Moorish Latin term that means in one's own proper person. It is a rule in pleading that pleas to the jurisdiction of the court must be pled in propria persona. Because if pleaded by an attorney, they admit the jurisdiction as an attorney is an officer of the court, and he is presumed to plead after having obtained leave, which admits the jurisdiction. So being that Lauren Hill was civilly dead, right? She said so herself, she had to go underground and all that. So she was civilly dead, right? She went underground. When you're underground, that means you bury yourself, right? So she made herself civilly dead, got a lawyer, attorney, people who say, I have services to help you in court. When you hire that person, you're giving them jurisdiction over you, period. I don't care how good they say they are. I don't care how much cases that they won. I don't care if they say I'll do it for free, right? If you're civilly dead, or if you're Negro black colored, meaning that you have some type of European name, but you're dark skinned, and you say that you came over here on a slave ship, or you say that you were born here, or you say that you're from Africa, and you have a European name, somebody has a bond on you. Somebody has a shackle on you. That's not really a shackle. So Lauren Hill is shackled. She is property of the Hill family, right? Just like Kimberly Jones, aka Little Kim, is a slave to the Jones family. And because she's a slave to the Jones family, she has big problems with the Inquisition Revenue Services. Self-proclaiming Queen Bee owes $1 million in unpaid taxes from 2002 to 2009, right? Flavor Flav, European. Chuck Berry, slave to the European. Don King, King, European name, slave to the European, owes taxes. Dionne Warwick, European, slave to the European, owes taxes to the Inquisition Revenue Services. Red Fox, the European, right?
These are all Moors, man.
And these are all Moors that have been denationalized or have been made civilly dead.
How is it that these Moors are trying to not pay taxes to anyone, not pay dues to any nation on the planet?
They just want to squat.
That's the, let's put it that way, this way. That's the moral heart of the issue. Beyond that's the spiritual law of it. We're not saying that paying taxes to the IRS is wrong. We're saying that existing as a human being and making a whole lot of money and not paying dues to any nation on the planet doesn't even make sense. That's why these agencies know that they can take advantage and lock these people up, even if income tax isn't constitutionally lawful. These people obviously don't have an allegiance to the Constitution because they're not trying to pay dues to anybody.
So we'll just rape them every year, right? Every year. Because take our children to Disneyland and buy ski-doos and
knowing that that's money that could have built a temple. But they gave those people time. They always give them time. Well, 2002 to 2009, that's 7 years.
7 years.
Circle 7. You could have
went nationalized.
You couldn't find a temple in 7 years? That's what the IRS is saying to themselves. Okay, well, they've stopped paying taxes, so probably there are more. So obviously, they're probably paying dues to the Moorish Science Temple. If they start paying dues, then it's not worth it to try and take their money, because then we're really running our fraud is really exposed.
Fraud is going to be exposed. Exactly.
Because morally, they're doing the right thing. They're paying dues to a particular nation, so-called recognized or not. Because the IRS isn't a nation. So once you go beyond the level of nation,
they're recognized though.
Yeah.
They're recognized.
Recognized.
You know them.
Yeah.
People just get a letter from them and they send money. No questions asked. They don't even question anything. That's how recognized they are. They're so recognized. They'll send out 5 million letters saying you owe $10,000, and 80% of those people would pay. 80% are gonna pay because they think that the Inquisition Revenue Services has something to do with government, or that the Canada Revenue Agency has something to do with government. Right? That's just like lottery. You're just putting money in and you're not getting anything back. And you're just putting money in and you're not getting anything back. And you're putting money in and you're putting money in and you're not getting anything back. And nothing doesn't click that, well, all the money that I put to this lottery that I never won, I could have been a millionaire by now. I could have invested that in some Jordans or something.
So,
right? Now, also too, we have to note something, right? That don't get fooled by them using Lauryn Hill as a piñata, right? Because there always has to be a sacrifice. Because these people that we're dealing with, the Inquisition Revenue Services or whatever, they have inherited everything in the Moorish Empire. Because Moors don't want to be themselves. Moors want to be everything other than themselves and want to follow everything other than the Prophet. Right? So note. John Forte, artist, composer, music producer, educator, and activist, came to fame with the Fugees. Right? Now, this was somebody in the industry that was straight humanitarian, right? Like track record. right? Can't say nothing about this man. Can't say anything to defame his character, right? Because he was straight in the communities doing work, like activists, for real, right? In 2000, Forte was arrested at Newark International Airport after accepting a briefcase containing 1.4 million worth of liquid cocaine. He was charged with possession, intent to distribute cocaine, and conspiracy to distribute. He was convicted and sentenced to the mandatory minimum 14 years after being found guilty and incarcerated at FCI Loretto, a low-security federal prison in central Pennsylvania. Carly Simon and her son Ben Taylor were advocates on Forte's behalf, believing he did not receive a fair trial. They fought for an appeal for the mandatory minimum drug laws that remove a judge's discretion in the case. They met Forte through Taylor's cousin, who was a classmate of Forte at Phillips Exeter. Carly is a mentor to me, a guide, absolutely my spiritual godmother, Forte has said. With the help of Senator Orrin Hatch, Forte's prison sentence was commuted by President George W. Bush, November 24, 2008. Forte was granted a commutation by President George W. Bush on November 4, 2008, after having served more than 7 years, circle 7, of a 14-year, 2 circle 7, federal prison sentence for a drug offense. Commutation, noun, a substitution, exchange, or interchange. 2. The substitution of one kind of payment for another. B. The payment substituted. 3. The travel of a commuter. 4. Electricity. Conversion of alternating to unidirectional current. Reversal of current direction. In law, reduction of a penalty to a less severe one. So because of Bush, right? Bush everybody hates or whatever, right? But he hates, hate the cracker and killed the cracker and all that, right? Commuted John Forte's sentence, right? Now, why? Because the Fugees were fairly, conscious. You know what I mean? Wycliffe John, trying to be prime minister and all that type of stuff, right? Lauryn Hill, like her status, you already know she's not no, Skettlebaum, she's not no little Kim, she's an artist. She's for real an artist. You know what I mean? Legit, right? Why are they gonna go after them like that? Because they said that they're refugees. They themselves said that they're refugees. So if you're a refugee, you're stateless. You're civilly dead. Being that you're civilly dead, you become subject to the people who assume jurisdiction over you. Because you are not in propria persona. Or you have no status. And status is the standing, the state, or the condition of a person. It is the legal relation of the individual to the rest of the community. Status involves the rights, the duties, the capacities, and the incapacities which determine a person to a given class. It is a legal personal relationship, not temporary in its nature, nor terminable at the mere will of the parties, with which third persons and states are concerned. And while the term implies relation, It is not mere relation. Status also means estate, because it signifies the condition or the circumstances in which one stands with regard to his property. Estate is the interest which anyone has in lands or in any other subject or property. Without status, you can't make the argument. You have to plead guilty, period, and be done with it. Right? The Inquisition Revenue Services know. The Inquisition Revenue Services know that the minority will be able to put into the street a superior number of people with a desperate and dangerous will. He will be a formidable enemy, for he is bound to the continent by heritage and knows that political asylum will not be available to him in other countries. Which goes back to the reparations. Right? There's no way that Negro, black, colored people are going to get reparations, because the people who are giving reparations know without a shadow of a doubt that all you have to do to get reparations is correct your status. And this is where Noble Drew Ali comes in and told you, because he's the prophet, not just some man wearing a funny hat. The prophet came and said to you, come, all ye Asiatics of North America, and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights. You are not Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian. Come and link yourselves back to the families of nations. And then the families of nations came out, and the families of nations came out, and the families of nations came out, and then they put this documents together, and they say these are all the rights that people have on the planet that we are supposed to uphold. And every nation signed on to them by now. And in those things, they are pushing Noble Drew Ali's program that everyone is entitled to a nationality and can't be deprived of their nationality. So what are they saying? That it's up to you to do it. They're just letting you know that it is an avenue that is accessible if you're a slave, dumb nigger, trailer park trash, then you want to correct your status. Latino, Puerto Rican, whatever you want to call yourself, there is an avenue called proclaiming your nationality where you can go and correct your status. Right? At least that. That's the bottom line, least thing that you should want to do. Proclaim some type of nationality. Because if you proclaim nothing, then you know you're pretty much done for. Right? Because they're not playing around. They are in a position where they have known about Noble Drew Ali's program for so long, right, that they've created all these allies through blackmail about, don't tell the Negro, black, colored people that they didn't come over here on Africa from Africa and that they were slaves. And don't let them know that the real slavery was the Trail of Tears. That was the real slavery. The Trail of Tears. And do your research on the Trail of Tears and you'll hear all the stories about the, Negro slaves that just happened to be with the Indians. During the same time of slavery when people are getting lynched. Right? When people are getting killed, when stuff's happening to Negro black colored people, there's these other Negro black colored people that they say are slaves, but they just hang with the Indians. The Indians adopted them into the tribe. So how come all these other guys didn't get adopted in the tribe? Right? And then that goes to, why didn't these Negroes, right? Why didn't these Negroes on the plantation, how come they decided to stay on the plantation? Just stay there. One dude sitting there on a horse, right? How much ever slaves came here on a slave ship? Just around this one dude on a horse, right? And then they have this one other brother beating this other brother. This is the pictures that they show, so I'm not lying. And they have the audacity to say that they were enslaved and they need to get reparations when it's 200 on 1. It's 200 on 1 and you guys are sitting there talking about, no, we can't leave the... Okay. The House Negro and the Field Negro. Selma, Alabama. February 4th, 1965. If the federal government does not find it within its power and ability to investigate a criminal organization such as the Klan, then you and I are with our rights to wire Secretary General U Thant of the United Nations and charge the federal government in this country behind Lyndon B. Johnson with being derelict in its duty to protect the human rights of 22 million black people in this country. And in their failure to protect our human rights, they are violating the United Nations Charter, and they are not qualified to continue to sit in the international body and talk about what human rights should be in other countries on this earth. This is El Haj Malik Shabazz. We'll read this again. If the federal government, you're telling me that he didn't find about more science, something, a little tidbit about the law, in order to be talking like this in 1965, and everybody's still calling him Malcolm X when he nationalized? If the federal government does not find it within its power and ability to investigate a criminal organization such as the Klan, then you and I are within our rights to wire Secretary General U Thant of the United Nations. Stop there. He's not saying go march. He's not saying go picket. He's not saying kill the cracker, kill the white man. He's not saying play victim and beg reparations. He's saying sue internationally. 22 million of us. Only problem that he had is after he got knowledge, he's doing like a lot of these other master teachers out here and want to dumb down lessons so Negro, black, colored people could get it. When you're supposed to be pulling them up. Right? You're pulling them up with the hand grip. Don't get it twisted when you see two people standing in front of each other and they do a secret handshake and think that they're greeting each other. No, one of them is pulling the other one out of the grave, out of the Hiram Biff grave, the shallow grave. That's why they're doing that. Right? Why is he saying black people? Talking about taking 22 million black people into the United Nations and claim what nation? What black nation are they going to claim? That's why he didn't get through when he went to the United Nations. That was his mistake. Continuing the black crap that leaves you civilly dead. That's why Noble Drew Ali said that according to science, black means death, because jurisprudence is the science that treats positive law. So according to science, black means death, because in jurisprudence, or the science that treats positive law, a black person is civilly dead, or civiliter mortus, not in propria persona, not in full life.
And therefore not a national. And so when you talk of reparations, even in the basic Webster's Universal College Dictionary, reparation: 1. The making of amends for wrong or injury done. 2. Usually. So usually don't say reparation. It's usually reparations, plural. So this is the common term. Compensation payable by a defeated nation to the victor for damages or loss suffered during war. 3. Restoration to good condition. So if what you're looking for is that financial reparations package, the
hand you back,
then it's only payable to nations. Even if it's the United States of America, that's a Moorish nation. Doesn't matter a million years from now. It can't be anything other than what it is. We're not talking about U.S., right, or U.S. or United States. We're talking about the United States of America.
Republic.
Right? Which didn't get paid, because that would be messed up anyway. That would be messed up to pay a nation of black people, a nation of people that don't exist.
A nation of civilly dead people.
Germany wasn't going to be down for that anyway, so. Right?
Yeah, we're the treaty with the Germany.
So what actually happened was there was the Treaty of Versailles. Treaty of Versailles, all the allies, right? And the people on the allies side, Great Britain, France, United States, etc., signed a treaty with Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the so-called losers of the war. And the deal was that they were to pay, the losers were to pay the victors. Even back then, it was like 30 billion, 30-something billion. Guess what? For whatever reason, the United States didn't sign the Treaty of Versailles. Imagine, you helped to win this war, you incurred a whole bunch of debt because of it, but nah, I don't want it. You know, there's all this money that you could get, but nah, I don't want it. Why? Because 10-13% of your population are people that don't exist. Right? And there's a different relationship that the United States have with Germany. So they signed the U.S. peace treaty with Germany. A separate treaty. Right? So a treaty between the United States and Germany signed on August 25th, 1921 to restore friendly relations existing between the two nations prior to the outbreak of war. Germany and the United States of America, considering that the United States, acting in conjunction with its co-belligerents, entered into an armistice with Germany on November 11, 1918, in order that a treaty of peace might be concluded. Considering that the Treaty of Versailles was signed on June 28, 1919, and came into force according to the terms of its Article 440, but has not been ratified by the United States. Considering that the Congress of the United States passed a joint resolution approved by the President July 2, 1921, which reads in part as follows: Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that the state of war declared to exist between the Imperial German Government and the United States of America by the joint resolution of Congress approved April 6, 1917, is hereby declared at an end, etc., etc. So in other words, and when you go through the treaty, right, this treaty, it says that any United States of America nationals, right?
Not U.S.
Not U.S. United States of America nationals, right, are entitled to all the benefits and advantages that are in the Treaty of Versailles. Not automatically, but if they know themselves and they know that they're nationals, then they're entitled. Now this is the 1920s now, 1921, right? This is Drew Ali,
like front
rolling.
page Drew Ali.
Like all
Drew
day.
Ali in his prime.
So think about that.
Right? All these Moors
can't
walking around with fezzes on and, you know what I mean, like activity.
Can't separate the two. It's the same time period.
You can't say that they didn't know.
Right? Drew Ali said you'll be paid off in compound interest.
Right? Citizenship. Mr. Phillips to Mr. Root, Secretary of State, August 3rd, 1906. So you're going to see why the whole American nationals, United States of America nationals perspective is so important, and how these free Moorish master masons, who are all the presidents and the Secretary of States and the congressmen and whatever, right? All these guys know what's going on, right? There are, strictly speaking, no Moroccan laws relating to citizenship of Moorish subjects in Morocco. The fundamental laws of this non-Christian country are based entirely upon Islamic code, no part of which treats of the subject of citizenship. There are, however, numerous treaties and conventions between the various Christian countries and the Moorish Empire, by means of which citizenship in this country is defined. But as I understand from the above acknowledged instructions that it is not the desire of the department to call for a report upon such lines, I will therefore confine these remarks to general conditions existing, which may possibly be of some use in connection with the information desired. 1. Citizenship in Morocco may be said to be governed by the laws pertaining to the same in other countries, with the exception that all persons residing in Morocco who cannot prove foreign citizenship or protection are considered ipso jure as Moorish subjects. 2 and 3. Moorish subjects lost their nationality only by becoming naturalized in or protected by another country having treaty relations with the Moorish Empire. It was established by the Convention of Madrid, concluded July 3rd, 1880, as follows. Any subject of Morocco, now remember, we're talking about 1880, so there's no such thing as Morocco in North Africa right now. So when you hear us say Morocco right now, get North Africa out of your head, because that was a lie. And the truth is that Morocco is anything above Mexico is Morocco. And Morocco is also Al Morocco, which also includes Mexico and the whole North Continent. So Morocco is really the North Continent. Morocco, in actual fact, is North America, not the kingdom in Africa that was founded in 1956. Any subject of Morocco who has been naturalized in a foreign country and who shall return to Morocco shall, after having remained for a length of time equal to that which shall have been regularly necessary for him to obtain such naturalization, choose between entire submission to the laws of the empire and the obligation to quit Morocco, unless it shall be proved that his naturalization in a foreign country was obtained with the consent of the government of Morocco, which is the United States of America Republic. Foreign naturalization heretofore acquired by subjects of Morocco, according to the rules established by the laws of each country, shall be continued hereto, as regards to its effects without any restriction. The above ruling has never been acted upon, and should this at any time be contemplated seriously, a large number of naturalized people, American and others, residing in Morocco would be affected thereby. 4 and 5. Residence in foreign parts does not affect the nationality of Moorish subjects, and the Moorish government has no means of protecting its subjects permanently residing in other countries, with the exception of a so-called Moorish consul at Gibraltar and a Moorish agent at Cairo, Egypt. Understand, hear what they're saying here.
Especially that last line.
Right? Hear what they're saying here, right? Residences in foreign parts does not affect the nationality of Moorish subjects. So regardless of where you go in the world, you're a Moor. Don't matter where you go, that's what you are. And the Moorish government has no means of protecting its subjects permanently residing in other countries. So when you go outside of your home or you run away from your mother, you're left at the discretion of all these crazy demons that you ran away from your mom who was supposed to protect you. Now you're surrounded by demons and you're crying for your mom and she's nowhere to be found because you left your nation.
Thinking you're in Mother Africa.
Thinking that you're in Mother Africa.
But you left Mother Africa here in Amexem, northwest of Amexem.
Right. With the exception of so-called Moorish consul at Gibraltar, right? So no,
we gotta go over that. Set that. Whole
keep
sentence,
in mind.
That's it right there, yo. That's
keep in mind. Like they did the flip.
Yeah, that's the one right there.
They did the flip. They're talking about Morocco. Immediately in 2012, people's mentality is the continent of South Asia that they call Africa today. So when they're saying the Moorish subjects of the Moorish government and protecting its subjects, the so-called Moorish consul in Gibraltar, right? They didn't say at Gibraltar and put a country. They said Gibraltar and a Moorish agent in Cairo, Egypt. Right? Now, there's places in the United States called Egypt and Cairo. Like, that's a fact. There's that. And people are going to say that this isn't Africa. Yes. Islam. Right? People are going to say that this isn't Africa. They're going to deny the fact that this is Africa, even though there's places here called the same name as places that they say is Africa. Right? When we speak of the, like, there's a game that's being played, right? It's like Tallahassee was saying, me and Tallahassee were talking last night, right? And we're talking about how it's like what El Hajj is saying. with the field Negro and the house Negro, right? And the field Negro is telling the house Negro, come to the temple and nationalize. Because this, like, the freedom's out here. And they're like, nah, no, we need the pig's feet right here. We need the oxtail. We need the, you know, the seasoning salts, and like, we have to have this. We can't leave the slave master's side. Like, we want the toilet water. We don't want to drink from the stream. Right? That the battle that we're fighting is same thing what the field Negroes were fighting. Same thing what Harriet Tubman was fighting. Same thing what Frederick Douglass was fighting. Getting these Negro, black, colored people, i.e. slaves, to recognize that you're not a slave. Like, it's impossible for you to be a slave because you're not European. So throw on this suit and walk like me. And just walk like me. Don't worry. Just put on the suit and walk like me. And you're going to be free, right? Like the instant you put the suit on. It's why you see Prophet sometime wearing a suit. Right? Because automatically they're not going to put you in the category of a slave if you're wearing a suit. Whether it be Islamic suit, European suit, Asian silk suit, Hindu suit, whatever. Once you have a suit, they know that you have structure. They know that you have some type of culture. You have some type of principles that you're willing to die for. The problem with Negro, black, colored people, even conscious Moors, is not fully detaching ourselves from the fraud, right? Because when you say, well, I'm a Moor, so you can't do whatever you claim you can do to me. It depends on the jurisdiction whether that works or not. Some jurisdictions, they just billy club you to death. Some jurisdictions, you go file your paperwork or writ or whatever it is to proclaim your status on the public record. Like, FBI is coming to your house to really check to see, like, did you really bait the switch, or are you trying to just, you know what I mean, get some corporate benefits, and then, you know, when nationality thing comes up, then you're going to jump behind it when IRS comes and says, okay, well, now you owe 1.5 million because, you know, you didn't pay your taxes from 2008 to 2015. So you owe $5 million right now. And now they want to jump on the nationality. No, well, I'm a national. You can't really do that. You know, you have no jurisdiction, etc. Right? Like, it depends on the jurisdiction. But the most basic thing to do, put hyphen, L or B on your name. I don't care what you call yourself. Do that. If you sign anything with these Inquisition pirates that call themselves government, reserve your rights. Go look it up. You Google it, and you Google all rights reserved, because that actually means something.
Speaking of that, have you talked to Star Lady?
No, I haven't.
He just called me maybe just this weekend or the last weekend. One time I was with him, we got pulled over.
Yeah.
The sticker on his car was expired.
Yeah.
So he got the ticket for that. He went, and same thing, went to the place to fill it out. Fill it out regularly. The only thing he did with it did different than the normal person is he signed it all rights reserved.
Yeah.
He got the same letter that Yasin got.
For real, huh?
He got the same letter. I haven't seen it. He called me.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the letter yet,
Yeah.
but he called me and he started telling me, he's like, yo, remember that ticket that time? Now he explained to me. I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember. He's like, then he's telling me how he signed it, and then he got the letter now. Oh, this is, don't worry about it. It's not going any further. Everything's been withdrawn, da, 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 da.
Right? So, there's the proof right there.
That's the second person.
That's the second person in our territory. Right?
Affiliation.
Yeah. Like direct people that we know, call them on the phone, that have utilized, we're not talking about saying I'm a Moran, whatever.
Oh,
right?
they did.
Utilize learning how to live within contracts. Because in a corporate jurisdiction, the contract is what makes the law. There's no law in a corporate jurisdiction. So when we say, oh yeah, United States, that's a foreign corporation and it's a government, it's not government, it's a corporation. All right, cool. That's their position. But everything that they do contractually, and you can put, i.e., acts, statutes, ordinances, bills, etc., etc. All those things is a separate jurisdiction that is strictly and confidentially corporate only.
So meaning which are done within the law of the contract that you signed with them.
With them. Right? So the contract that you sign with them is what creates the law. That they created in the background, that they're not telling you that, right? That's what you're going to be governed under, right? So, for example, like here, we have the Highway Traffic Act. So when you go get your license, that you think that is really your license, when it's really their license, and then you're contracting to use their services called licensing. Just like you go to convenience store and use their service for water, juice, chips, whatever. You're just using somebody's service and you have to pay when you use the service. And it can be taken away because it's a privilege. It's not a right that you're exercising. Right?
You can't sue the convenience store owner because he has Mars bars but he doesn't have Snickers. Yo, where's the Snickers, yo? Yo, you ain't got no Snickers, man. Aw, man. Yo.
I'm gonna sue you,
I'm gonna sue you. Like, no.
Right? So when you sign the contract, behind the contract, there's the act, the ordinance, the whatever that they created. That they're gonna say you breached. Which would be a violation in their corporate commerce world that they created and got us in it through silent weapons and quiet wars. Because again, just like they're saying, the silent weapon is a biological weapon. All licenses and things that you sign, or all these contracts, are economic deprivation weapons. They're meant to stagnate your flow. Because all they have to do is see which direction you're going, run down to the end, set up a dam, and you're just floating now. And you know, it doesn't click that something's going on. Right? And now they're going to come and say, oh, well, you know, since you're floating, you owe $8 million and we have to take your boat, confiscate your boat because you don't have a license. And instead of us going back to status and asking them who they are, prove where you get this authority to say that, you know, I have to give you $8 million on my boat. Like, who are you? Just like the IRS. Who are you? But nobody asks any questions.
Exactly. Everybody's just paying.
Everybody's just
Nobody don't ask.
going with it.
Yeah.
Right? And once you go with it, then you just solidified the contract. That's why, beyond the fact that there's all types of different types of fraud going out there, people lifting up signatures and putting them on other stuff and whatever, you still reserve your rights on anything. All rights reserved. Look that up. That's going to tell you what that means. Right? And again, proof positive that putting all rights reserved on something is what you would call discharging the debt. Because the signature is where the money comes from that they're claiming is functioning society. So if there's a debt, like for example a suit, if there's a suit for driving without a license and it's $500, the thing that they give you for you to sign, your signature is what's supposed to pay for that. The money behind the signature, the money behind that bonded signature, right, that's connected to the birth certificate, is what's supposed to pay for that. Right? If you don't reserve your rights, they're getting money twice. Right? Because what you're paying them, they're getting that. Plus, they have your signature now without your reserve rights. So now they can take that signature off and then put it on something else and say that, you know, this person authorized the bond for $80 million to pay the debt that we have to China. And now China has that paper with that signature on it, which means now China owns you now. But if you reserve your rights, they can't do anything with the signature. All they have to do is just discharge the debt. They can't go further with it because it's checkmate. They're like, the game's over. You have to, you know what I mean, either start from the beginning, you know what I mean, or continue where you were.
It's like getting a check when they give you those like sample checks and it's stamped on it like whatever.
Yeah.
Sample or
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
You can't go cash that.
You can't go cash that check. Right? I mean, you could try, but you know what I mean? They're gonna laugh at you. Right? Good. There was this article right here, June 12th, 2012, and this was in the Toronto Star. And this is an article from Joan Hyde in Thunder Bay. Is the world suffering from short-term memory loss? The current worldwide economic problems began when the financial industry coerced governments worldwide into borrowing billions to bail them out because of their criminally negligent management. Somehow, this bailout was accomplished without any of the CEOs of the negligent financial institutions being prosecuted. Then, the ungrateful financial industries turned around and used the higher debt levels of governments caused by borrowing for the bailout to threaten to downgrade their credit rating and increase interest rates if those governments did not impose austerity on their populace. Austerity is a deceptive, mild-sounding term which in fact means slashing government services, slashing pay and benefits for the middle and lower classes, increasing the tax burdens of the middle class, while simultaneously and artificially lowering government revenues by also slashing taxes on the corporate elite. Governments continue to impose austerity throughout the world, despite warnings by economists such as Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Krugman that imposed austerity measures will only hinder, not help, any economic recovery. Now it seems to be round 2 in the scam. Spain, having sufficiently imposed austerity on its citizens, is able to qualify for another multi-billion-dollar loan. The purpose of this loan? To help ease the burden the Spanish citizens are suffering under. No, it is to provide another bailout to the banking industry. It is time to say no to bank bailouts. If the banks suffer, so be it. Arrest and prosecute those banksters responsible. It is time for the world to recognize that Goldman Sachs and his friends have invented and perpetrated a whole new category of crimes against humanity. And this some lady up in Thunder Bay. So if a lady in Thunder Bay knows about, you know what I mean, the fraud that's going on around here and banksters and things like that, then Thunder Bay,
yeah,
right?
You gotta really take that in.
You gotta take that in.
That's Thunder. It's not a, it's not like saying Toronto, right? Montreal.
For people out there, Thunder Bay isn't, like just up the street, right? Thunder Bay is where you don't want to be in the wintertime, right? Now, all of the people, right, that claim to be Black Muslims, Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, Congress of Racial Equality, Euro Movement, Group on Advanced Leadership, Freedom Now people, United Black Nationalists, Pan-Africans, National Urban Leaguers, National Colored People Association people, the religious black people, and all of them are under the King Alfred Plan magnet, right? They're connected to that. Once they claim to be that fiction, once the claim is to you have to pay taxes, there has to be some type of representation for them to make that claim that you're taxable or you're licensable or you're whatever it is that they're trying to impose, right? So this is from Confused About Taxes, Roman Colonial Occupation of the Western Hemisphere. And this is by Taj Tariq Bey. And you can also get this at rvbaypublications.com. So this is Confused About Taxes. And the chapter is called Taxation Without Representation. The deliberate and callous altering of world history by the unclean hands of Inquisitionists and colonial crusaders has created the presiding artificial colored and distorted concepts about civilization and about its true origins, right? So right there, we're talking about, me having to battle with people, Moors having to battle with people about, over here not being Africa, and only over there is Africa, right? The deliberate and callous altering of world history, the reconstruction of history, so that the people are lost when it comes to trying to find themselves or know who they are. The colonists' extortive traditions and practices, burning ancient books, destroying highly organized civilizations, and altering literature has twisted and hidden vital truths about the original natural peoples and founders of civilization and high culture. When the sons of Europe were instructed by the Moors into the high science of organized government, which is called in history the Renaissance, such antisocial behaviors were to be abandoned by them. The founding of the United States of America, with its republic form of government, was a manifest representation of that high civilization agreement, accentuated by the free national constitution. We see in these contemporary days that once the colonists were enabled to dominate the seats of government, that such honor and integrity is not the case. The Europeans who have shown an aversion to justice have secretly maintained their Inquisition and Crusade policies as reflected in their practices of violating constitutional principles. Those in government have abused their fiduciary duties, violated the public trust, and have used the seats of government to sanction strawman, nom de guerre instruments in order to undermine the natural people's inalienable rights. Logic and true world history enjoins that the aboriginal natural peoples of Ameru, America, are the true sovereigns of the land. The sovereignty, therefore, reverts back to the people. So when there's occupation and the occupiers or the colonizers or the inquisitionists implement certain policies that are against what was written in the treaties, which are the supreme law of the land, the sovereignty goes back to the people automatically, right? And when the sovereignty goes back to the people, it's now for the people to make a proclamation based on the sovereignty being given back. And that's what the Emancipation Proclamation was. That's how they took it, when that was really a transfer of ownership. But they took it like that was their freedom. That was the proclamation that means you're free. Yeah, you're free, but on that other guy's plantation, you're not free on this plantation anymore, because we're not going to be responsible, right? The Roman European colonists' pursuit, desire, and intent to conquer the world and to destroy civilization and ancient high culture does not ethically or morally make them the legitimate sovereigns over the Americas. And so it must be stated and remembered that in spite of their hostile acts to intimidate, taxation without representation is a hallmark, social and political consignment of tyranny and despotic colonialism, being a telltale sign of a foreign agenda and a corrupt government. Forced servitude, color of law, and disseminated mental slavery is the ultimate form of taxation without representation. Forced servitude, color of authority, and disseminated mental slavery is the ultimate form of taxation without representation. Booty and prize. Booty is a law term which refers to property captured in a war on land from a person or people designated as an enemy, right? Prize is a term used in admiralty law and refers to property, vessels, cargo, etc., forcibly captured or apprehended at sea and claimed as enemy's property, being appropriated and detained with all goods and effects contained, with the intent of becoming the master of the whole or part of its value or cargo. And so, goods forcibly taken on the land are called booty, and goods forcibly taken on the seas are prize. Corporate persons occupying seats of government have consistently charged natural persons with violations made against their color of law bonds or debts relative to vague corporate contracts initiated by the colonial persons occupying seats of government. These same pseudo-government officials have been claimed and natural people's properties under colorable and pseudo-legislation administrative booty courts. These corrupt demi-officers traditionally issue ticket suits and other tribunal tax claims against the people absent of a sworn affidavit. They do so on a consistent basis and yet have failed to produce the said contracts or agreements as evidence establishing the implied debts or the implied evidence mutual agreement violations. So that's saying the same thing that we were saying earlier, that someone is going to make a claim that you owe $1.5 million.
You're just gonna, oh man, for real? Yeah.
Right? And first thing they're going to do is, it is a rule in pleading that pleas to the jurisdiction of the court must be pled in propria persona, because if pleaded by an attorney, which they're going to hire as soon as they get that letter saying that the Inquisition Revenue Services wants $1.3 million, they admit the jurisdiction by hiring that attorney, because an attorney is an officer of the court, and he is presumed to plead after having obtained leave, which admits the jurisdiction. So the attorney that you hire, or that Wesley Snipes hired, and he's supposed to be Washington, down with Washington, but he's hiring an attorney. And Dr. York supposed to be, Yamasee chief, and then he hired an attorney. And Lauryn Hill hired an attorney, and Red Fox hired an attorney, and all these people are Moors that are really supposed to be presenting these arguments when they go in there for these suits, right? For so-called evading taxes, right? And they're hiring these people that are, one, officers of the court. So if the attorney is an officer of the court, then the district attorney or prosecutor or crown, whatever, he's also an officer of the court. The guy on the other side, that's against you. So okay, so those guys are officers of the courts. And then now the judge also is an officer of the court. Right? And that triune principle of 120 degrees, three ways, because it's the judge, and then somebody, and then somebody. So that triangle, right, becomes the 120 degree angle three ways, which is 360, which is a whirlpool of just pockets just emptying. And you have to do the jail time. And when you finish the jail time, you're going to be on probation. Right? All because didn't even give law a thought. Didn't even give, well, these guys are saying that I total taxes. Let me see. I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the Constitution and the Republic that which this stands. Okay, so maybe I should read the Constitution and see if, anything's in here that applies to me and my tax situation, instead of me hiring a lawyer, right? So, okay, preamble. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. So ourselves and our posterity means me. So that means I'm we the people. Okay. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Okay, all right. So all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. Okay, so that means that the Congress is really the one that has the power, right? And that's in section 1. And hold on a second, I'm a member of the Moorish Science Temple. And let me just go get my... And now in my divine constitution, it says that the Grand Sheik and the chairman is empowered to make law and enforce law. That sounds kind of similar to section 1, article 1 of the Constitution, that says all legislative powers are granted and shall be vested in the Congress. So maybe the Grand Sheik and the Grand Chairman and the Grand Secretary and the Grand Mufti and the Grand... Maybe that's really a Senate and a House of Representatives, and the Grand Body is really a Congress. Because Noble Drew Ali said that he's coming to teach us, how to run a government. Right? Okay, so that's Article 1. And you get reading through this thing, and it's really interesting. Wow. Also, Section 8. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties imposed, and excises, to pay the Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes. Wait a minute. This letter right here. Lauren Hill, you owe the IRS $8 million in back taxes, and you're going to go to prison for 3 years. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes. This is the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, that the IRS is even bound to, even though they're a private corporation that has nothing to do with the government. They're still bound by this, because in order for them to say that they're the IRS, they have to get authority from the Congress, because the delegated authority of laying and collecting taxes is on the Congress. So how did the IRS get the power of Congress without some type of delegated authority from the Congress saying that they have the permission? Or what we read before, taxation with representation. So if they can show me something, right? Because I'm not going to go to my lawyer and tell my lawyer this and tell him to go fight this for me, because he's an officer of the court. And the first thing he's going to say, no, you got to pay your taxes. You got to pay your taxes. There's no way that you get out of paying your taxes, because if you don't pay your taxes, then that means the government has to pay the taxes. Well, the government's the corporation, so they're the ones that really should be paying the taxes, because the corporation is the one that's really supposed to be paying the taxes. But since we're corporate, being that our name is Hill and Fox and Snipes, right? No, he could have went into court as Blade and probably got off.
He stood a better chance.
He stood a better chance. Instead of claiming to be Snipes, European, you're dark skinned, big nose, big lips, and you're European, right? All of them didn't even read the Constitution. And then they're going to go to a basketball game and stand up for national anthem and all this stuff, yo. And they don't even read the Constitution, which gives the authority for them to play this anthem that you're standing up and saluting the flag. Didn't even read the Constitution to know that that's the argument that you just bring up in court. You just put that in your writ.
See, a big thing right now is challenges, because everybody thinks that you get the ticket or this or that happens, that you're wrong. Like, that's law. Like,
right.
It's not
because you have the ticket.
Like, who says that this is a ticket? Who says that, you know what I'm saying? Who says anything? If you're trying to make a claim on me, then we're going to go to court
and settle.
And you're going to produce your evidence that you can make these claims.
Right.
And I'll have my evidence producing what I need to produce, which would be, basically the Constitution. Like, let's see, like, you want to tell me about bylaw? Like, well, I don't see that in the
In
Constitution.
the Constitution.
Like, this
know,
is what I'm
IRS
bonded by. I don't understand.
Excuse me, IRS agent, where do you derive your authority? Because I don't see the IRS in the Constitution.
And even if you have it, bring it forward.
Bring it.
Show me
I
the
don't want to hear
evidence
it out
that
of
you
your
have
mouth.
this evidence.
Yeah. Put it on the record. Put it on the record,
document?
please.
Where's put it out your mouth or
Right.
enter it into evidence, the document.
Right. And now remember, right? Because we're talking about, you know, the key of this is Lauryn Hill, right? The most recent, right? Wesley Snipes, second most recent, and they're conscious. That's not Negro, black, colored people, right? Islam fan,
Islam,
right? That's not Negro, black, colored people. That's people who have knowledge. Like this man has a production company, Amen Ra Productions or something.
So it's
right.
So why is it that that happens? Like that they at the end they take that route, like hire a lawyer. Like I would think that once you're into the knowledge that you know, like those are the basic parts of coming into the knowledge.
Right, exactly.
Like
Right.
you know,
exactly.
you know that, especially with the lawyer thing. You know, once you have a lawyer,
First thing you learn,
you've taken yourself out of a favorable position. Like
you're not in propria persona at that point.
Yeah, and then that then you don't even have a constitutional argument.
Straight up. Right. You got something? Hold on. Right. Confusion about authority. I find that in seeking to inform some of the natural people about social and political realities which adversely affect our everyday lives, it apparently becomes easier to address some of the economic and political issues by posing questions instead of just presenting factual history of the Constitution law. Confusion and vagueness about delegated taxing authority, conjoined with confusion about delegated jurisdictional powers, has certainly proven to be a common denominator when or if, by inquiry, one seeks to inform response from the average natural person. A good example of questions would be forwarded to those in claimed authority would be, so, we'll stop right here. If anybody claims that you violated something, and they are, one, a private corporation, two, a private corporation owned by foreign Europeans that have no jurisdiction in this land, or three, a private foreign European corporation that you can research on the Security and Exchange Commission website, as well as Dun & Bradstreet and other corporate recognition, registration websites, and they're on there, and they send you a letter saying you violated something. These are the questions, or some questions, that you are going to write them. And you're going to write them with, one, at the top of your letter, having your ancestors' flag on the document. Because this is Morocco. And I don't care what you think or what you believe, I'm telling you that this is Morocco. And that is the flag of this land. And this is Morocco. So you better stop playing UCC games because you filed something and you claimed straw man, and deal with the reality of how nations deal with nations. So you put your flag on your document. First thing. Second thing, you're going to put writ of discovery at the top. That's going to be under the flag. After you put writ of discovery, you're going to put who it's to. When you put who it's to, You're also going to put CC, and you're going to CC at least 3 or 4 people who are, for lack of a better term, bosses of the person that said you owe something. Because everybody has a boss. So you're going to let their boss know that you're asking these questions to them, right? Dear whoever sent you the letter. Question 1. From what constitution law does government or any sub-government agency, agents, or quasi-government personnel derive their often claimed delegated authority to command a tax /fee /amount owed /payment due, etc. from the natural people and the citizens? Repeat again. From what constitution, law, does government or any sub-government agencies or quasi-government personnel derive their often claimed delegated authority to command a tax from the natural people and the citizens? 2. Where is your documented authority certificate or delegation of authority order, and why is it not publicly displayed? 3. Or let me go 2 again. Where is your documented authority certificate? So if they say you owe something, right? If they say that you owe something, you owe some type of money, they have to prove that they have delegated authority in order to even ask you to pay something. 3. Who is your confirmable principal or employer? Of what nation? What is your nationality and present documents of proof? So that's just 3 questions that you can ask, right? What happened to that? That's just 3 questions that you can ask, right? And if you ask those 3 questions, right? Or when you ask those 3 questions, there might be other questions that you could add on to it. Like, where in the Constitution does it mention that you have the power to lay and collect taxes? Right? So after you write these questions, you're going to put a statement saying that you need answers to these questions before you handle this matter that they're claiming you have with them. And you put a time, like a date that you want a response by, just like how they do to you. You know, they tell you, you need to respond to this in 30 days or we're going to sue you. You do the same thing to them. Give them a date. You put a little X, a line. You write all rights reserved on the line. UCC 1-103. UCC 1-308. Sign over that with your straw man name signature that's not really yours, that's theirs, that they're trying to say is you, right? Under that signature, you put your free name with L on it, so John Thompson -L, and then you put in brackets X relation that signature that you just put on the document that you thought was your signature, but now that you know that it's not your signature, you're going to start working on correcting this, right? But you still have to engage these people that you now know have been running a fraud on you your entire life. Don't ignore them, because if they send you a letter saying that they owe you something and you don't counterclaim their claim stands. And that's how it works. That's not opinion. So if they say you owe $8 million and you don't say, well, I asked them these questions and sign it, send it registered mail to the same person that sent it to you, plus you're sending a copy of that to 3 other people who are the bosses of those people, their claim, whatever they say in their thing that they sent you, stands, period. Because you didn't make a counterclaim. That's why they say, we need you to deal with this in 30 days. They didn't say you have to pay in 30 days. They said, get back to us. Let us know something. Here's a phone number. Here's an address. Some stuff they won't even tell you what to do. They're not going to say, yeah, please write us a writ and question us on our delegated authority so, you know, we can expose the fraud that we're running on you so you can take that letter and show all your friends that we're running a fraud. Right? If you don't do it, don't expect them to do it. Because they're in possession of your birthright. And they're using the possession that they have of your birthright in order to, 1, escheat your inheritance or undermine your lawful claim to the land, right? 2, they denationalize you. They take you outside of your position that gives you the authority to present this argument that we're putting on the record, right? That I don't care who it is. If anybody challenges you and you know that they're a corporation, more than likely it's foreign and it's owned by a European. Never just give money. Even if you're Negro, black, colored, and you're on a slave on the plantation, don't just take the first thing of pig feet that they give you. Right? Maybe, you know, check around a little bit. They might have some more seasoned ones. You know? They might not, you know, because the first ones, right, those are the ones that, you know, have the doo-doo in the hoof still. Right? Those are the ones that they didn't clean properly. Right? Those are the scraps. So you don't want the first ones. You want to wait, right? If you're a house Negro, you want to wait and, you know what I mean, get the later pig feet. Don't take the first pig feet. Right?
Because looking at the situation too, from a common sense level, right? It's not really a surprise that entertainers who sing lyrics, right, who decide without paying dues necessarily to a temple, right, that they're going to stop paying income tax and not make some sort of proclamation to these agents that they're indigenous and they have questions for these agencies, but just stop paying, apparently, that these agencies, right, because there's other people doing this, right, and probably maybe getting locked up too, but, you know what I mean? They're getting, how many years did Snipes get? And now, and Lauryn Hill, Snipes, what, 5, 10 years, something like that? Lauryn Hill, 3 years? Because it's just, it comes down to common sense, right? You're an entertainer. You're out there in the public eye. Oh, so you're on some indigenous stuff. Well, then, share it with your people.
Why are you?
So years go by. You're not singing about it. You're not talking about it. It's a fraud. Because you're an entertainer. You're not even making a YouTube video. Like, hey guys, you realize that
you're Moors,
and we shouldn't be paying income tax or something.
Right, but why don't they do that? Because they already know. They love their check. Right? Same check that they got is what has the Inquisition revenue services on their ass right now. Because you can't commit blatant fraud and not expect the international community to say something. Like, why would they let you just commit blatant fraud? And the blatant fraud that you're committing is that you don't want to pay dues.
Just to the rest of humanity in some form.
How are you gonna say, well, you know what, I'm here because I paid my dues, right? Like it's like they're talking about they're gonna have these concerts, these Jay-Z concerts for the opening of the new arena, you know, for the Nets going to Brooklyn and all this type of stuff, right? Yeah. They're having these concerts, and out of 19,000 seats, Jay-Z is gonna offer 7,000 seats at under $30, so the fans who are impoverished could go. Like,
and where are those seats located?
What? Yeah, that's really what. That's what it's about.
So why it's only 7,000?
7,000 out of 19,000.
I let in 3,000 people free.
Right?
Like,
why you say it's just free?
Or not?
You know what I mean? Free. How about free games?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How about free games?
I'm already charging for the games. I'll give you the free show.
Like, exactly. But what is it? Drew Ali said, be careful, because your own brother is going to put you back in slavery. Watch for your own brother, because your own brother is going to be the one, right? And, who else is going to know than the prophet that your own brother is going to put you in slavery? Like, his own brothers killed him.
See, the next thing I say, too, is, yes, a lot of us is just finding out about these things, even if you've just learned it in the last 10 years. Yeah. That's finding out about it.
But this is 99 years old. So.
And that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So there's like these guys who've been pushing all this black power in the 70s and 80s and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And sure, we didn't know about this, and we might have gravitated to that in a way looking for some unity. But I now think that they knew. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, all those brothers out there pushing, I'm black and I'm proud, all of them knew about this. Because this, even though it's new to us to find out, it's not new. When you sit back and say, wait a minute, 1913, 1928, when you start bringing out these dates, you're saying, then obviously all of this black stuff has been by design.
Yep.
So yeah, your own brother is taking you down, trying to keep you black.
Because it's a fiat payo, right? It's a fiat jurisdiction, right? If you really wanna milk it, you can milk it. Get on the black bandwagon and maybe start off kind of slow, but it'll pick up speed and you'll be rolling in the fiat. Right? Just keep perpetuating it.
Oh, and remember, just to touch on again, income, right? Income is profits off of investments. When you work and get a compensation, that's pecuniary wages. Pecuniary. So when you get that form, that income tax form from your work, and they say your income is 8,000, that's what you're allowed to claim. Make sure you scratch out income and then put pecuniary there. Because remember, this is a contract, and they're contracting with you, so you have a right to go through the contract and make sure everything's, in line.
Make changes
with how you want it, because you're the one signing it. Nobody else is even signing it. We're the only ones signing the contract, and we're not going through the contract and taking out stuff and putting in stuff and making sure that it's legit for us to deal with it, right? And reserve your rights on it when you sign it, and then submit that, because don't forget, the income tax people have nothing to do with your job. They're extortionists. They're contracted with your job contracts with them to put you in slavery by making you pay income tax on your job. That really, the corporation that you work for is supposed to be paying those taxes, not the employees. Because the employees are supposed to be putting their taxes into the temple, or the church, or the synagogue, or the Muslim, or the mosque, or the tabernacle, or whatever it is that you claim. Right? Which, as I said, tabernacle. I don't know if you heard about this one. So apparently now the Rastas now are on the World Service Authority vibes.
Oh yeah. For travel.
For travel. Going and getting passports.
Yeah.
Right? Under the World Service Authority now.
Yeah.
Right? That's how they're getting back to their sovereignty now.
So the world who?
World Service Authority.
So if they're getting passports from them, what's that passports that?
World Service Authority passport, which is corporation, governmental, NGO, whatever, right?
So it's like
created by Europeans, right, for their earthly salvation.
One of those,
right? One of those Freedman's Bureau type of vibes, right? And yeah, it's cool. It works. There's Moors who've gone to them and got passports, right? But the problem with the Rastas is they're not going with a status. They're going as civilly dead people, claiming to be Ras, whatever, and then getting some passport from some Europeans, which means that you're not the one in the authoritative position.
You might as well just got the Jamaican passport.
You might as well just got the Jamaican passport.
Maybe you could have signed it all rights reserved.
Well, Service Authority passport, you can't go everywhere.
Exactly. It has. You know, there's people have gone places with it because it's on the site.
Yeah.
You know that, people have gone to this place with this passport.
Yeah.
Right? But majority of those people who have gone places, they have a status. They have a position.
It's kind of like on point, but the soft thing. I watched the episode of South Park the other night. South Park's that cartoon, very opinionated and they don't hold no punches.
Yeah.
Anyways, the episode was basically about reading the contract, and the people who didn't read the contract, whoever, like say Sony or whatever, IBM came and was rounding them up. Little people didn't matter.
Yeah.
And they're like, who the hell are you? Like we're like, oh, we're with this company.
Yeah,
You signed the contract. Yeah, we're come to get you. They're like, I'm only a kid. I can't sign no contract. He's like, yeah, you did. And then, so basically, they filled out a form online, and you know when you're online and you just
click.
Nobody doesn't read that.
Just
click.
Click
So in this episode, it was like everybody read it.
Yeah.
It was like the reverse. Like everybody's like, you would sign something without reading the agreement, like
I'm making a mockery of it now. Yeah.
And the people who didn't sign, they got
it.
They got it, boy. They ever get it? What they did with them?
We have a look for that one.
South Parkish, real horror.
It was straight horror.
But the whole thing was kept coming to the point, like, to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so there's even a part where like they're reading it, like they want to sign the contract, but they had to spend like how many hours to read that part that everybody skips.
Exactly.
But yeah, so that's it. Like when you're saying change that income to, go through the contract. Make sure it's what you're agreeing to.
And there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, the mentality of people has to get out of the authority.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what gets us in trouble from the jump.
Yeah. As soon as you think that if you're doing something different than what they actually is just a suggestion, but you think they're telling you to do something,
that.
it's just a suggestion. Once you think that doing something other than that is wrong, then
they can now assume jurisdiction over you, right?
We'll
because
reverse
you
it.
assumed that they were the authority because they said they were IRS, and you never really went to check what I was and R was and S was. Just like you never went to see what U.S was, and you just assumed that they meant United States. Like, I mean,
And
I guess it just means, you know, like, what else is it gonna mean?
It's so blatant too. Like when you read a lot of stuff, like even you go to that paper, every time they mention it's U.S.
Yeah, it's like
this big U.S.
It just lights, you know,
and
just
if anybody
blinking out
else
the
is
page.
mentioned, they'll like they could spell the whole like it would be
Germany.
Germany.
Germany. There
It
no
wouldn't
G.
be no big G.
Yeah.
You know, like
China's not a big C.
yeah. Even if they talk, United States of America. And the U.S. Like, wait a minute. Why over here is the whole word? Then it's just U.S. again.
Straight up.
It's so blatant.
Yeah, yo. So that's where we're at.
And then just to finish up on the income tax, right? Again, when we talk about knowing the difference between what's being suggested and what is just and what really is. Okay, so the birth of the Income Tax Act. There's another little timeline here. Got it from some website, www.duhaime.org, duhaime.org/law museum/Canadian League. Okay, so it's just one of their pages at duhaime.org. Going through one key one that I saw. Sir Wilfrid Laurier quelled the separatist provincial government in Nova Scotia by bringing its premier into the federal cabinet as finance minister. But we'll go into that later. Because there's what we think are provinces of Canada, there's certain ones that they're not Canada. Anyway, William Fielding remained at the position for 15 consecutive years and later returned under Mackenzie King in 1921 for another 4. It was during the 10-year hiatus in Fielding's cabinet career that consecutive Prime Minister Robert Borden appointed Sir Thomas White, pictured left, to the ministry. White, a lawyer and former trust company manager, would soon be entrusted with the finances of the young Dominion during the terrible crisis of World War I. On April 24, 1917, White tabled his annual budget in the House of Commons. Despite the recent entry of the United States into the conflict, the military requirements of the Allies was draining the resources of Canada. From Baghdad to the North Sea, men, equipment, and supplies were in constant need. The cost of the war to Canada had reached $600 million. That's back then. White told the House, this in 1916 dollars. Already Great Britain and the United States have implemented income tax schemes, but added White. That's their words. It would appear to me that income tax should not be restored to in Canada, at least not until the House went into committee of the whole on July 25th, 1917. On that day, the 50-year-old finance minister tabled a resolution which called for income tax 4% on all income of single men over $2,000, etc., etc. So they set up this income tax scheme. White hoped his tax would not much outlast the war. In fact, he insisted on calling his bill the War Tax Upon Income Bill. But conventional wisdom was best expressed by opposition finance critic Alexander McLean. I have no doubt that once we have embarked upon it, the judgment of the country will be that it should be continued for many years to come. McLean was not to be mistaken. Soon 100 years will have passed since the federal government received the authority to levy a temporary war income tax upon Canadians. And that's the founding, that's the origin of income tax in the jurisdiction, right, fraud jurisdiction of Canada, right. It was originally war tax upon income bill. So war.
Key theme. War.
So what war are you in that you're paying income? That's another question.
Yeah.
You could put
That's
on
the
your
other question on your thing. What war are we in? Right? What war is happening right now that authorizes you to say that I have to pay tax? and then see if they reply. And then when they don't reply, right, just go to rvbaypublications.com. There's a page called Writs of Freedoms. Click that, and when that opens, go to default judgment, and then read that document called default judgment. And then that document called default judgment, you're going to send that to the same people that you sent the writ to when that 30 days is up that you gave them, or 50 days, or whatever it is, and create that as a paper trail. And make sure you make copies of that and give that to some of your friends, because when they get those letters, guaranteed you're going to be on their radar. So you better have Eller Bay on your name. And while you're in the transition and you just have Eller Bay on your name, just playing around, right? Make sure you go to the Moorish Science Temple, find one. And if you don't know how to find one, go to canaanlandmoors.webs.com, CANAANLAND moors.webs.com, and let us know that there is no temple in my area. I need to find a temple that I can go to nationalize, because I've read your website, I've read RV Bay's website, I ordered books, I watched DVDs, I went to the library, I researched nationality and birthrights. This is real, and I want to correct my status. And we'll direct you to the right people so that you don't get taken advantage of by these sellouts and these agents and these so-called Moors that are trying to sell people their birthrights nowadays, instead of just showing them the procedure of how they're supposed to do it.
Don't think that they have any more authority over us, because we're here to clean out all that nonsense.
And to put it on the record also, right, when we're talking about cleaning up nonsense, we're not talking about removing people from their position. If you haven't been doing your job for the past 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years, you've already quit.
Defaulted.
You've already defaulted. So don't think that, like for example, right, there's going to be a Canaanland Moors versus Lord Abba debate coming up at the end of July, right? Brother wanted to debate for a long time, right? Me and the Moors, and we spoke about it, and okay, fine, no problem. We'll debate them, right? This is not a pissing contest. Put that on the record. But we're not going to be taking out our dicks to see who can piss the farthest with Lord Abba, right? We're going to be putting Noble Drew Ali's claim to authority that he put on all these Moors who want to go out there and want to create their own stuff because they're scared, right, to exercise under Moorish Science Temple of America, because they're afraid of some infiltration that happened in 1929 that got Noble Drew Ali out the way, which didn't really get him out the way, because he himself said that I could do better work from the soul plane, so I'm out of here. So he already knew what was going to go down. So just keep posted on the internet, right, to how it's going to go down. But there's going to be the Canaanland Moors defending their position of Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Moorish Science Temple of America, Moorish Divine and National Movement, to Lord Abba, who claims that we're fake Moors and our temple's fake and everything that we do in Canaanland is fake and not legit. Alright? So we're going to close out. Oh yeah, today's books, Confused About Taxes. You can get that at rvbaypublications.com.
A little piece from the Canadian Immigrant Magazine. That's Ontario edition, the July 2012. Okay.
Treaty of Peace and Friendship, the Constitution of the United States of America, of the United States of North America, sorry, 1786, 1787, 1836, and that's, you can get that at rvbaypublications.com. Just go to rvbaypublications.com and order it. I think it's like $10, $15 or something like that. It's nothing's gonna kill you. It's one spliff. So just don't smoke for one day and go support. And don't forget King Alfred Plan, because you need this. If you claim that you're Negro, black, colored, you need this. You need to go get this immediately. Right? So that juice that you're gonna buy, beer, whatever, for hold back $10, right? You could talk to them. If it's $15 and you only have $10, send an email or call or something and let them know, and they'll work with you. These aren't people trying to rob people for information, right? They'll work with you. Believe me, they'll work with you, right? So that's all the books for today. You wanna have any closing out remarks or anything like that?
Probably just for those regular viewers, Islam Tallahassee,
Islam to all the whole
all the
fam.
followers, all the fam, Canaanland
Grand
Moors.
Sheikess, Grand Mufti.
The next class, because these treaties are fire. Treaty of Versailles, Treaty of Peace between Germany and the United States. We're probably gonna go into those for the next class, next couple classes even. So this whole war concept,
and remember, you know what I mean,
realizing that tax and war, that's the thing. So okay, let's realize that the taxes seem to always be because of the war. So let's go into the war now.
We're not you know, some hater Moors, right? If you got info, this is a Moors TV channel. Right, this is for Moors, active Moors, who's been out there doing work. And if you got information and you're active and you haven't been talking shit about Canaanland wars, send some info. You have the email from the Facebook, you have the website.
Please
right?
Send it.
If you're studying out there and you have info that the people need to get, then send the info. Put your name on it with your L or B, because we're not gonna quote you if you're gonna tell me you're John Smith and you have some constitutional information. Like, we're not going to read it. So if you're doing your research, you find something out and you want to present that information, we'll do it on your behalf. Canaanlandmoors.webs.com.
Alright,
so let's close out.
Rise and give honors to the Prophet, Honorable Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali, known as Noble Drew Ali. Rise and give honors to his forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Give honors to all active Moors, Northwest of Maxim, Southwest of Maxim, and all over the world. On behalf of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Moorish Holy and Divine National Movement, part of the Moorish Divine National Movement of the world. 5 on the left and 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace.
Freedom.
And justice. Allah is our protector.
Allah is our protector.
Our guide.
And
our salvation. By night. And by day. Through His holy prophet. Drew Ali. Amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Hotep.
Hotep.
Sila.
Sila.
Islam.
Islam.